Okay, welcome everyone to another exciting episode of the MoonShot Podcast. Today, we are joined by a very special guest. We are joined by the amazing, the enigmatic Margarita. I'm not going to say your last name because I might mess it up, but I'm just going to say Margarita, who's originally from Moscow and now in New York, and she's amazing. She's a coach, she's a mentor, she's a stylist, a model artist, a woman of many talents who has worked for Fortune 500, Fortune 50 brands like Bulgari, Porsche, IKEA, and so many more across fashion, technology, aviation, and a whole bunch of other very exciting categories. So, Margarita, so glad that you could join us on our show and welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to join you too. Of course, it's very excited to be here and to meet you. And we'll see what it will be. I hope it will be something interesting today.
Okay, that's awesome. So, Margarita, I'm going to borrow from what Robert said earlier in the green room discussion, which was, can you let our listeners know, give us a little bit of an overview of who you are and what do you do and also why?
I like actually how you introduced me. Many people they see what I do and they see my personal brand and they immediately think I'm a stylist and a model, but actually I'm not. Just I have this personal branding. I'm a brand strategist, I'm a mentor, and I'm an artist. So I have two main projects. It's my brand design and marketing agency, Cosmic Creation LLC, where me and my team, we work with companies. We do their branding, we do marketing of social media, digital marketing, everything from a logotype to website for big companies. For example, the last time I was working with sharing private jet in Switzerland company. This is my one project. And yes, and here I worked also with such brands like Hyundai, for example, with some main banks in Eastern Europe. So it's about big companies. And another my project, it's about personal branding. It's mentorship for visionaries, for entrepreneurs, where I show them how to grow their projects, how to launch their projects, and how to uh, stay visible for people and to understand who they truly are, their personal brand. So I even divided this project on three parts. It's clarity, where you understand who you are, where your goals. It's radiance, it's your personal brands. We investigate your archetype system. Here included the social media. And the third part, it's structure. It's kind of business plan that we implement, that I help to create person. And then you have a clear plan how to go and to grow. That's my main projects. And of course, my third one is I'm an artist and it's just a project for my soul. Sometimes I do paintings, I do fashion illustration, and I work with brands in this sphere.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. Robert, would you like to unmute? Uh, and the reason for that is because, Robert is like very, very close to fashion, as well as style. So I'm sure Robert has like a very unique perspective on this. And I would obviously, ask Robert to kind of like ask a question related to that. But before that, or in addition to that, Margarita, I guess the question is, you mentioned like a bunch of things. You mentioned coach, you mentioned mentor, you mentioned illustrator, artist, all of these things. So within all these things, like what is the common line that connects all these three together? And between all these three, what are you most excited about?
Okay, the common line probably because I achieved my goals in fashion industry, like fashion illustrator. I worked with very famous brands, and I achieved it only because of my personal branding that I was building for many years, and I was studying and investigating this field. And now I transmit all my knowledge in my mentorship projects. And because I also have this vision of design, and I studied, it's my profession, I finished university, it's a touch for my company for design, marketing, and technology. So probably personal branding and this style vision of fashion, it's going through all my projects.
Awesome. Robert?
Yeah, I'm just, I know that's so interesting, Margarita. Now, when it comes to formulating a brand for an individual, what do you think is the most important component that you focus on?
And the most important, I think, it's to understand who is your audience, your potential clients, and who you are, what you want to represent, what you want to do. Not the main problem now, what I can see, that people just copy another. They see, oh, this person is successful, so I will keep his model and put on myself, and I will be also successful. But it doesn't work often like this, because we all have our own individuality, we have our own mind, what we want to do, our goals. So we should think first of all about this, who we truly are, and then to put this on our strategy.
And what's your favorite social media outlet, if you have one, or do you use a combination?
I use combination. I haven't got, to be honest, my favorite social media, it's real life. When you go for networking and you communicate with real people, it's always the best. If I have possibility to meet with my client personal, it will be always a choice, because personally I can influence, a person can influence, and we have exchange. It's far more better. Social media, it's my working instrument too, my working tool, and I can tell it's not every person can use it good and spend too much energy on it. For example, I have never sold my artwork in Instagram. I have absolutely other tools to sell my art.
Interesting. And you spoke about a mentorship program. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and how that operates?
Yes, I had this project in Russia. It was very successful. I helped mostly artists, coaches, entrepreneurs to launch their projects. And I helped them from the scratch. Sometimes person came to me and said, I want to open my boutique of clothes. It will be individual with hand-drawn clothes, fashion, luxury, and I helped to open it. First, we worked with brain of person, with the ideas of person. Sometimes even I included in my project a coach, a real psychologist or coach, because everything should be started from inside, from your head. If you don't understand, if you have fears, it will be too difficult to achieve your goals. And then I helped with the structure, with technical moments. Like I just give a clear plan, clear lessons, what to do, how to create presentation, where are your clients. For example, as I mentioned before, not every client can be in Instagram. Some people, they do 10 years Instagram and this social media doesn't bring them a client, because it's not their social media. Their client can be not even in Instagram. So we investigate everything through my mentorship. We go through all this line, and I give them a scheme they can use all their life. This understanding how to move and to launch every project.
So so if you find that a client is not really suitable for, let's say, Instagram, how do you create the one-to-one or human-to-human relationship that's going to work for them? What are some of your strategies for that?
You should understand and investigate who is your client. It's a deep investigation. You should understand where these clients, what social media they use, if they use at all, where they go, in which cafe they go, in which gym they go, in which events they go. And after this, when you absolutely understand who is your client, you choose the where you can meet them. You can choose a tool, how you will influence on them, and you go there. So, for example, for my company marketing and branding, My clients usually the top managers or directors from big factories, and some of them they don't have Instagram, they don't have an app, they don't have profile. So if I will mention my services there, nobody from them will see. Sometimes I go and I try to meet these people. I try to get recommendation, and then more warm is connection, then more trust you have, your credibility, you build your credibility, and then you start to gain projects and your clients. So it's like this. You can use also any funnel for cold audience, like presentation, cold calls or text. It works a bit worse than meeting in front of a real person, but it also works. Yeah. There are plenty of tools that you can use.
Go ahead, Robert. Yeah, you were about to ask Margarita something, right?
Yeah, so that's very interesting to me. So if you have these clients that you meet with personally in one of their favorite spots, what are your next steps in terms of formulating a campaign to create more growth with that client? How would you describe that?
It's very interesting because right yesterday I gave a webinar for my Russian audience about networking and communication. And this process sometimes it's a bit more deep, especially if we speak about big projects and big companies. Sometimes you need to be first a kind of friend for this client. If I go and I start to do cold calls, sometimes it doesn't work. And many of my clients, I collaborate with them because they like me as a person. So sometimes it takes several meetings. Sometimes first I always I give them something useful for them, and they start to trust me, and then I can suggest already collaboration and what I do. At first meeting I can just mention what I'm doing, but to push for collaboration it needs a bit time when you gain a trust.
Thank you for that, Margarita. And it's like I will say that, so I have worked with Margarita as a coach, like as in Margarita was my branding coach. And this is like, in fact, one of the feedback that she gave to me when she observed me in the wild, so to speak, right, at a networking meeting. And I think this is the kind of insight that actually people need to hear, because in fact, this is also more so because I know that you have like dating coaches that actually go with the client in real life to kind of see how they operate and then make recommendations on how they need to adapt their approach. So I'm not saying that Margarita is a dating coach, potentially could be maybe in the future, future idea. But the point is that she kind of observes the behavior of the client, the person, and sees how they interact with other people to kind of observe the subtle inflections on what they're saying, what they're doing, how they're standing, etc. Because I think all of it kind of like are pieces of a mosaic that build a bigger picture. And she kind of observed that and kind of gave me like some, as they say, brutal honesty, which I love because I think everyone needs to hear the truth. Because only then can you course correct and improve your like approach. And I gotta say that I've kind of like used that feedback immediately as recently as earlier today, where I met with someone, kind of like spoke to them as a human first, not even though they reached out to me asking about, the reputation management, but I just asked them, I could kind of notice their facial features. I could see they were stressed. And I was asking them, okay, like what's really going on? And then they said they have all these other problems. And I said, I think I have a solution for it. Let me make a couple of introductions for you. And boy, oh boy, he was like blown away with I think it kind of disarms people when you kind of approach them from a more generous abundance mindset because they're not expecting it. They may have certain preconceived notions that everyone is out to get me. People are just thinking that I'm a meal ticket. People just want my money, et cetera, et cetera. But I think when you kind of approach them from a certain sincerity and a genuineness about like, I see you for you as a person and you have like certain things that are weighing heavy on your mind, maybe there's something that we can do to kind of solve for that. So I got to say that that's a feedback that Margarita did give to me as recently as I think it was day before yesterday. I think when we met. So the feedback is real, the effects are real, and yeah, and I think that even though I think Margarita's feedback is kind of focused on high net worth individuals like millionaires, billionaires, those kind of people, the same approach I think could be used for regular people as well, which I think could work in both cases. And it's just so, and of course, Robert, you know this crowd extremely well, being one yourself. Maybe that was TMI, but you know these people extremely well. You kind of know how they think, how they operate. Maybe I'd love to kind of hear your perspective on that. Like, what is your take on dealing with the rich and famous, and maybe the rich and not so famous, because most of them don't want to be known. So, what's your take, Robert?
How much time do we have? I could talk all day on that subject. It's a very individual thing, and of course, it depends on the person. I'm sure Margarita would agree with me there that everything has to be laser focused for the individual.
Yeah.
And when she's talking about getting to know the person, meeting with them in the flesh in one of their favorite cafes, that's what it's really about, to get to know somebody. You know about my position on money. And Margarita, if you didn't know this, I wrote a book on money. It's called Monergy. So, I see money as a byproduct of doing the right thing. And when people say, oh, I want to be rich, I want to have a lot of money, it's kind of ridiculous, because when you go about doing the right thing with all your ducks in a row, money will just come naturally. And unfortunately, our society values it so much, and I'm sure you would agree with that. Well, maybe you wouldn't. I'd like to hear your views on that. And coming from Russia, where we have this idea of these, potent oligarchs who have like stolen a lot of the resources and live really high and mighty. I kind of know some of those people, and I've interacted with them, and I have a relative who is living with these people right now, and I get feedback on what their lives are really like. And the short answer, Rajiv, is I'm not impressed. Money doesn't impress me. Billionaires don't impress me. I would agree with Margarita. It's all about the human connection. That's the most important thing. And unfortunately, when all you're thinking about are dollar signs, people lose the ability to connect with the human side of an individual, and that's unfortunate. And that's something that I'm very, very aware of, and I always try to keep that in my mind. So, it's great when people achieve things, but, as we've spoken before, a lot of times, Rajiv, people are not their possessions. They're not their money. Individuals, your total worth has nothing to do with how much money you have. Even though it's much better to have money than not. I will agree with that. But there's just a limit to what money can do for you. And if that's all you think about, you're going to be a very sad person for most of your life. Margarita, would you like to comment on that?
I agree that I also have mostly my ex-clients, very rich people, millionaires. Often they became my friends. We have good connection, and I can tell what I notice. Of course, it depends on person. Money can spoil person, and the person can be obsessed about it. But mostly, whom I know, it's very intelligent people, and they love life like crazy. Just they love people, they help people, and many of these millionaires, you will even never understand that it's millionaire. It will never show by his clothes, etc., especially when they are not on the conferences or not on the event. One of my friends was mixed up with a gardener because he was so relaxed, and he was wearing common stuff, and people, they even mix up him. And these people, they appreciate life a lot. They helped another people without asking money. And this is their main idea, and I can see how the money flow, they can ease this money flow because they perceive life easy, and they are open-hearted, first of all. So I agree with you. Yes, and I think the connections, it's main. And yesterday on webinar, I said to my followers, I said that the main, you should fall in love with the person in front of you. You should open your heart and like hug with your energy, and then you can suggest something. Not you want to give, not want you get, only get and get and get and pay me money for this. No, this doesn't work. But first you should really play this game, not pretending that you pretend that you love them. Not, it's not about this, because some people think they, when they listen to me, they think I don't want to pretend that I love everybody. It doesn't need to pretend. It's about to perceive life like this. And when you start to perceive like this, everybody starts to love you, and of course they will buy your products. Even it's far more expensive, but because of your and your energy, they will buy your products.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Margarita. So I guess, obviously, you're very gifted and you understand people extremely well. For the benefit of our listeners, can you help our listeners? Because, style and personal branding, of course, is it's very deep, it's very broad, it's very specific, and there are many variables to consider when defining as to what the personal brand should be, because it depends on who the person is, what they want to do, where they are, what industry they're in, et cetera, et cetera. So there are many variables there. But if you could, maybe give us some broad guides as to how to think about style, like even something as simple as wardrobe, like colors. Most people, unless they're a stylist or an artist, don't have a good idea of colors. They don't have a good idea of what color goes well with what color and things like that. So from, just like a broad stroke, what can you offer to let people know, okay, give me a basic framework as to how should I think about when I put on this t-shirt and these jeans and these shoes, what should I be thinking about so that I don't look like a clown, when I walk on the street, so you just help us out there.
First, I just want to mention that personal branding, it's not just about your clothes or your grid in Instagram. It's a very deep system. You can investigate it with archetype system, from psychological view, investigate your position in how you influence on people. Even for corporate branding, I investigate psychology, because the colors of corporate colors, they can influence. Like green and blue, they gain a trust, and red, it's a pushy energy, and you should understand the values of company, the tone of voice, and then combine. For personal branding, it's kind of like this. So if your tone of voice is soft and you do something calm, and your archetype is this and this, you should use something soft. If you are a bright person, your energy is bright, you should feel yourself first of all and investigate the system. It's very difficult to just give recommendation, because without knowledge of archetype system, psychological, it will be a bit difficult. I truly recommend everybody to go to good stylist, because I always hire stylist for all photo shooting, and it works crazy. And I found a stylist who understand my psychotype, my psychology, and archetype, and it works very good. And I suggest people, of course, to go there or to find a mood board. Just write a list of your characteristic, who you are. You can actually, there is one exercise, it's very short, I will give you. You can ask your friends what do they think about you. For example, 5 words, who I am, describe me. And then you, on another list, you put words whom you want to be. Maybe your role figure, somebody already famous whom you want to be, like this person, and just write this all characteristic that this person or your future want to have. And just compare the two lists, how people see you and whom you want to be and how you want to influence. And then you just analyze what you missed. And then you just do actions, or you go study or change yourself and investigate what you need to improve in yourself to be this person who you really want. So, and the colors, then you will understand your colors, because if you didn't understand inner yourself, it will be difficult to find correct colors.
Awesome. Wow, that's very interesting. Thank you for that. That is like definitely very helpful. Robert, when Margarita is talking about archetypes, so what do you think about that? What's your kind of like point of view on the whole archetype system? I mean, I understand archetypes from the branding standpoint, because we use that pretty extensively in brand strategy. But I'd kind of like love to get your take on it. Oh, you're on mute, Robert. Oh, Robert, you're on mute. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I think it's a great starting off point. And in our society today, there are so many different subgroups and so many different self-identifiers that people have. And you really are almost walking a tightrope talking to people these days, especially when you first meet them. So I think it's really important to be sensitive to where these people are coming from and to gradually move them in a direction that is going to benefit them, even if they don't know that they need to go in that direction. And it really requires a lot of subtlety, I think, in today's world in terms of doing that. I find that people, while I agree with Margarita that a lot of people should be open-hearted, in the normal interaction with people, most people actually are guarded and not open-hearted. You have to actually put them at ease before they can become open-hearted. And that takes a bit of an effort. It's a level of trust that comes with a certain type of interaction you have with somebody. Once you've achieved that level of trust, then you can gradually suggest things that might benefit the person. So, and I'm not a big believer in being attached to archetypes because I think that on a certain level that can be very limiting for people. Especially because if people grow up thinking that they are a certain type, um, based on their conditioning, based on what people have told them, teachers, friends, etc., sometimes it's very hard for people to break out of that idea of who they really are. So I prefer a more open type of an approach to people and not necessarily to put them in an archetype right away. That would be my preference in dealing with people. Although I would be mindful of what those people may represent to me, but I wouldn't want to project too much onto another person because I think that could be a really limiting effect on them.
Yeah, good to know, Robert. And in fact, Margarita, maybe you could kind of potentially clarify to Robert, when you say archetype, like what do you mean? Obviously, I've kind of been through the process with you, so I have a very clear understanding of what that means. But can you maybe just break that down, both for Robert, but also for our audience that may not fully understand the word archetype, and maybe share a few examples of archetypes so that people can better understand and visualize what an archetype could be?
Yes, of course, and I agree also with Robert because I not always use archetype system. I have many system, and just it's easy to build a personal brand on this system. But sometimes when I see the person, it's difficult to person to explain, and maybe he or she has no clear archetype. I choose another thing. I use just psychology and listen yourself and himself, my client. There are many systems what you can use, and I agree that you first should listen yourself what this system is good for you. So one of these for branding is archetype system, and many big brands and companies they use it. So it's like standard for branding. There are a system you can read about it. It's a long time to discuss. So there are so many archetypes. We have usually two main and one shadow archetypes. Like one example of you, I can tell you that you are your archetypes. I forgot in English. The who is teach. First, it's a vice type.
Yeah, sage, warrior, and jester.
They are very warrior. Warrior, yes, warrior. It's your main sage, and your shadow archetype. It's a joker. It's funny, charismatic guy who put this pepper a bit to not be too serious because your actually projects are very serious and for respectable people, for very interesting people, and you don't want to be this serious, and it's in your soul. You are very charismatic and cool guy, and then you add this archetype of joker. And it's not a clown, it's this kind of cherry on the top of the cake. And it works good because this shadow archetype, it always attracts people. We can't be too much serious, etc. And so sometimes people, they can easily understand how to show themselves in social media, in how to represent themselves in real life, if they know this system of archetypes. But some people, they no need, they understand just they feel good this.
And Margarita, let me ask you kind of like another question, maybe not directly related to this, is, when you're working with clients and, I guess, if this is a millionaire client or a billionaire client, sometimes you may feel like, how should I speak to this person, because they are like worth so much, and you're in that conversation where they want to work with you. They said they like you, they want to work with you. You're having a conversation to try to figure out what their requirement is, and they say something that you disagree with. And so my question to you, Margarita, is I guess, is there a different way of disagreeing with a millionaire, billionaire than a regular person? And how would you kind of say that? Would you be super tactful? Would you be very gentle? Or would you just say out, like, would you just come out and be like blunt?
I had such situations in my life. First of all, you said when you showed this, even with your hands, this first with what I think we should all work, because there are no this and this. We all are equal. And millionaire and you, yes. And if you have this in your mind before you go to the meeting, you just imagine this millionaire here, I'm here, and you just put it in your mind at least on the same. Oh, there is also exercise. You can imagine him as a light ball and you as a light ball, and to compare which ball is which ball, yes, is more light, and then you make them equal, and you feel this, that we are equal, we are people. First of all, you have the same talents that this millionaire. He is smart, he could achieve his money goals, but you have another goals, and not goals, not talents that are inside of you, and we all have our own. And when, for example, people say, oh, you're so talented and I'm not, I said, no, you are also, but you didn't find what is it. But I can even feel that you also have this. Everyone have. So it's first of all. And when you feel this, you already don't afraid to speak. There's no one billionaire or millionaire in the world. And about if you don't agree, this is a good question, because I don't often say my opinion, because it can be very different, especially some topics, they are sensitive topics. About philosophical topics, they are sensitive. If I don't agree with the view how a person live, I cannot say, oh, no, it's not. It's just a view of this person, and I accept it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. If I want to share I can share. But if I think that it will bring some misunderstanding between us, tension, and person will think not what I want he think, I will not mention why I should explain something. So this is, for here, you should feel good with your psychology and intuition what to say.
I have to say, I totally agree with you. And Rajiv, it's very interesting when you pose the question to Margarita. Right away, you're making a distinction in talking to millionaires or regular people. We're all the same. We're all one on a certain level. It's really important to be aware of that. Somebody might have more money than you, or more money than me, or less money than me, or less than Margarita, or more. But ultimately, I totally agree with what you said, Margarita. Everybody has something special to offer. And the key is to get that person on the track, to discover what that is, and to give it to people, and to get the rewards for their service. That's really what it's about. But I think we all are possessed of really special powers and special skills. And it's just a question of getting in touch with them. Would you agree with that, Margarita?
Absolutely. We are like X-Men. Everybody have each own power.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Rajiv, I've known you for a couple of years. I think you have incredible power. Margarita, I feel your power. I've only been talking with you for a half hour, and I'm in touch with my own power. That's all I could say.
I can feel all your powers, guys.
Awesome. So, Margarita, I mean, this has been fantastic. So, for the benefit of our listeners, how do people get in touch with you?
Get in touch with me?
Yeah, like how do they find you if they want to work with you? How would that happen?
I yes have account in all my social media. I have a website. I have WhatsApp, so I can leave in the comments. I don't know where I can leave if somebody want to touch. I'm always open to speak. I speak with my followers, easy answer questions, so I will be happy.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. This has been great, Margarita. Thanks a ton for jumping on this conversation, and this has been fantastic. And obviously, this is a very interesting subject. Like Robert said, we can speak on the subject for hours and hours. And, I think we might need to have you on the call again later on when we have our third co-host who was pulled away, unfortunately, today. But we'd love to kind of have you on again with him as well, because he adds a very interesting perspective to the conversation. So, Robert, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, Margarita, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. And actually, I'm going to extend an invitation to you when I get back to New York, which is going to be like in about 10 days. I'd love to meet with you and have a coffee and chat further.
With pleasure, with pleasure. I want also to say thank you, Robert, Rajiv. It was crazy interesting. I even didn't expect. When I came here, I had no idea what we will speak about. And now I feel your both energy, and it's crazy cool. Yes, I like a lot our podcast. And with pleasure, we'll meet, of course.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for appearing on the podcast, and have a great rest of the day. And hopefully we'll meet again soon.
Yep. To be continued, everyone.
Yes.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.